On the day of my wedding, I was drunk and broken by a poor scholar who was reading at home. My parents were angry and hastily married me. Only the eldest sister added a dowry to me and said with tears, "If you have any difficulties in the future, come to my sister for help." Everyone praised the eldest sister's kindness, saying that although she was a fake daughter, she was a real noble girl who had been trained by the Prime Minister's mansion for many years. That year, my sister married into the royal palace, and I, a real daughter, humiliated myself to marry into a scholar's thatched house. 3 years later, I was tortured by the scholar and became seriously ill, and fled back to the capital to ask for help from my eldest sister. At that time, my sister was dressed luxuriously and glorious, snuggled up in the arms of her brother-in-law, who had become a prince. When she saw that I was sick and dying, she mocked me. "Sister still doesn't know. You drank the wine I handed you that day, and you were so hot that you were abducted into bed by that scholar. You are a real daughter. When you reach adulthood, can it be my turn to marry the prince? I can only use some means." I died a tragic death with hatred, and when I opened my eyes again, I returned to the day of the wedding. My sister was toasting me with a smile. She didn't know that this glass of wine would become my warmth, affection, and wine with my brother-in-law. 1. There is a poison in the wine. Once this poison is ingested, the woman is paralyzed like spring water, and the man will be beastly, and if it is not relieved in time, the blood will flow back and die. The sister was very smart. She quenched the poison on the edge of the cup. In her previous life, after she toasted, she smashed the cup and died without evidence. So the first thing I did when I came back from rebirth was to change her cup while more people were involved. Then guide her to toast the second glass of wine to King Gujiuzhao. Gujiuzhao is the future prince, my sister's lover, and my brother-in-law. I drank her wine in front of my sister, and the glass of wine that was really lewd actually entered the mouth of the king. Half a quarter of an hour later, the backyard wing. His Highness the King, who avoided everyone coming to the garden alone to sober up, stumbled and fell into my arms. He was really short of breath and hot all over his body, exactly the same as the symptoms of my Chinese medicine in my previous life. I took the initiative to throw myself into my arms, and the king was like a warmer holding an ice cube, not only refusing to let go, but also immediately taking off his clothes and loosening his belt, wanting to fit my skin. The most terrible thing about lewdness is that it can make a noble prince abandon all dignity and succumb to the most primitive desires. And I remained awake and led him to the side room by the garden, so that I could avoid another man who might be found. As soon as I entered the room, the king completely lost his mind, leaned over and pressed me under him, and shouted vaguely into my face. "Kem Wing. Jiang Jinrong is my sister's name." Before I was recognized, Jiang Jinrong, as the only legitimate daughter of a first-rank general, was able to enter the palace to accompany the prince. She worked hard to accompany her in reading to make the king and her fall in love. My sister loves King Chen to death, and King Chen also likes his sister in his heart. In my previous life, I always regarded King Chen as my brother-in-law, and I never thought of competing with my sister for a man as a real daughter. Now, I cater to my brother-in-law's wolf-like offensive. In this life, I not only want to take back everything that belongs to me, but also take away my sister's most beloved man. My sister would never have thought that the glass of wine she handed me would become mine and my brother-in-law to be's warmth, love, and wine. 2. After fighting for an hour, Gujiuzhao fell into a brief period of hunger and coma under the influence of wine. At this moment, his body was flushed, and his chest and neck were full of my ambiguous bite marks. I admire the masterpiece I left on my brother-in-law to be. The last time I looked at this man in such detail was in the cold winter of my previous life. At that time, I fled to the capital with a sore body and knocked on the door of the prince's mansion. 3 years ago, I married the poor scholar Duan Yuan, and my sister Gao married into the Qinhuang mansion. 3 years later, I escaped from the scholar's hands, dragging a pair of lame legs and wearing willow spots, and went to Beijing in embarrassment to ask for help. And the sister has risen with the king, and has become an extremely noble crown princess. As soon as my sister saw me, she shrank her nose into the snow-white fox fur. "Sister, what kind of dirty disease is this?" She hid in fear. Gu Jiuzhao stood beside her, hugged her with a big hand, held her sister tightly in her arms, stared at me vigilantly, and asked her subordinates. Where did the beggar come from, dare to ram the crown princess? I stared blankly at the man. Gu Jiuzhao was dressed in a dark gold python robe, with a golden crown tied with ink hair, and a jade belt wrapped around the bee's waist, dazzling nobility. Why can my sister marry such a noble, unmatched, gentle and considerate husband? But I have to accept my fate and marry a poor scholar who is gambling and lustful. Obviously I am the real daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion, and my sister is the fake daughter of the wet nurse who deliberately dropped her bag. When I was found back to the Prime Minister's mansion from the outside, Jiang Jinrong had been the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion for 18 years. On the day I entered the house, she took a candied haws and carefully flattered me. "Sister, can you not drive me away?" There were tears in her eyes as she said, and my parents looked at me with some subtle accusations. The dove occupies the magpie's nest, and the magpie comes back, but the other birds in the nest are afraid of leaving the dove in the cold. Just like at this moment, my sister is still a noblewoman holding the moon with all the stars, and I am in a state of embarrassment, no different from a beggar. Without waiting for her subordinates to reply, her sister explained, "Your Highness, this is my sister Jiang Jinha, who married Song Yang. It's the one who got drunk and messed around with the scholar at the wedding ceremony 3 years ago." Gu Jiuzhao then understood. "Your Highness, go in, I'll settle my sister." Gu Jiuzhao didn't ask too much. He gathered Jiang Jinrong's fox fur coat and told him gently, "It's cold outside, don't wait too long." Jiang Jinrong shyly agreed. After the prince's figure completely disappeared into the garden, Jiang Jinrong walked down the steps with the help of the maid, approached me, and looked concerned. How could my sister have such a dirty disease? I explained with tears, "Sister, after Duan Yuan married me, he went to the brothel every night to find the oiran, and spent all my dowry within a year. He said he wanted to take the exam for merit, but he spent all day drinking and drinking every day, and when he was drunk, he beat me, and my legs were broken by him. He also brought me a sick person from outside. That place in Songyang is called The Day Is Not Right, and the earth is not working." I trembled and spread my hands, and there was still a stinky and solidified blood in my palms. I couldn't bear it anymore. I smashed Duan Yuan's head. Songyang County wanted me. I risked my life to run back to the capital, but my parents closed the door to me. My sister said back then that if my sister is cornered, she can come and ask for your help. I knelt down, grabbed Jiang Jinrong's fox fur coat, and cried humbly, "Sister, save me, Duan Yuan is clearly guilty of death. I don't want to pay for him. The willow spots all over my body are so painful and dirty. Please find a doctor for me, help me seek justice, and give me a way to live." Duan was originally a scholar who was studying in the Prime Minister's mansion. That year, I was drunk at the wedding ceremony, and I was forced by Duan Yuan in a daze, and I was still caught in bed by everyone in broad daylight and in a pavilion with no cover. I had just been recognized as the Prime Minister's mansion for less than half a year, and after this incident, my marriage was hastily arranged by my angry parents. On the day of my marriage, only Jiang Jinrong gave me a dowry, and she held my hand and said, "Jinha, if you are cornered in the future, you can come to find your sister for help." Everyone praised Jiang Jinrong for his beauty and kindness. What if it's a fake daughter? The Prime Minister's mansion has been cultivating for 16 years, and she has long become a true noble woman. I also thought that my sister was noble and kind, so I desperately returned to Beijing, and begged her to give me a way to live. Her rich face did look like a bodhisattva, and suddenly the corners of her mouth hooked, and her eyes were cold. The reason why I said that back then was because I expected that if you married Duan Yuan, life would be worse than death. 3. I was stunned. "Sister, what did you say? You haven't come back to your senses yet." Jiang Jinrong leaned into my ear and said gloomily, "At the wedding ceremony, the glass of wine my sister gave you was lewdly poisoned. That's why you are so hot that you stripped yourself of your clothes in the pavilion in broad daylight." And Duan Yuan was arranged by me early in the morning. I asked him to wait for the rabbit in the rockery next to the pavilion, and when you completely lose your mind, he will take advantage of the situation. And I will pinch the time, take all the guests, and happen to encounter your scandal. So that day, everyone who participated in you and the wedding ceremony participated in catching adultery, and Yu Jiang Jinhe was ruined, and you would never be able to discuss a good marriage. Why? Why? Jiang Jinrong suddenly grabbed my bun. As soon as you come back, I will become a joke. Originally, I was the pearl held in the palm of my parents' hands, but your appearance made me the cheapest fish. The wedding gift given to you by your parents is really grand. All the dignitaries and dignitaries of the imperial city came to support. You have taken away my glory. When a woman reaches adulthood, she can discuss marriage, and her parents will definitely favor you, your own daughter. If I don't use any means, this good marriage with the Qinhuang mansion will be yours. The king has a bright future. I spent so much effort to make him look at me twice. Everything will be ruined as soon as you appear. I will never allow it. Don't blame me, people don't do it for themselves, heaven and earth will destroy it. If I hadn't used the 3 indiscriminate methods back then, I would have been the one who would have ended up miserable today. Jiang Jinrong laughed. Fortunately, now I am the crown princess and you are a beggar. My eyes widened in horror, and I wailed in my throat, turning into a fishy sweetness and spurting out violently. Jiang Jinrong's fox fur coat was stained with my black blood, and she raised her foot and kicked me down in the snow. Immediately afterwards, officers and soldiers surrounded me, and the prefect of the imperial city was also present. Jiang Jinhe murdered his husband in Sanyang County and absconded into Beijing, killing people to pay for his life since ancient times. Prefect Zhang, don't be biased. Prefect Zhang said, please make it clear to the crown princess. Let her pay for her poor husband's life and bury her. Kong Kem Wing. I cried and roared, but the officers and soldiers stabbed my teeth with bamboo boards. Jiang Jinrong took off the dirty fox fur coat and helped the crown princess on her head. Sister, 20 years ago, I became the daughter of the prime minister's mansion for you. 20 years later, I made this crown princess for you. Your luck in this life is destined to be snatched by me. You accept your fate. Her laughter was crisp and piercing. I was furious, with sores all over my body, and I died a tragic death in agony. Before he died, he saw heavy snow falling on the terraces of the prince's mansion. If there is an afterlife, I must become the mistress here, and trample all the people who harm me under my feet. 4. When I came back to my senses from my previous life, Gu Jiuzhao had already woken up, and his eyes gradually became clearer. He saw clearly that the person next to him was me, and almost instantly grabbed my neck. Do you dare to calculate this, king? I struggled weakly twice, revealing the bruises and red marks he had made on my shoulders. No matter how you look at it, I was taken advantage of. Gu Jiuzhao let go of his hand with a guilty conscience, and I coughed violently twice and retorted. I was resting in the side room, and it was the prince who was drunk and rushed into the back room and to me. My shoulders shook and I cried so hard that it rained. Gu Jiuzhao was so wrong that I cried, and he held his forehead and was puzzled. How is it possible? This king drinks very well, and he didn't touch a few glasses of wine today. But the prince is clearly drunk and flushed, and he has no reason at all, no matter how much I cry and beg for mercy. Gu Jiuzhao quickly realized that something was wrong. Is there medicine in the wine? I pretended to be reminded by him and reasoned decently. I only drank 1 glass of wine today, and that glass of wine was handed to me by my sister, and I remember that the last wine the prince drank was also the wine handed by my sister. Could it be? Is it my sister? If my sister really calculates, neither the prince nor I can stay here for a long time. Gu Jiuzhao defended sternly, absolutely impossible. Jin Rong is kind-hearted, and it is absolutely impossible to commit such a decent act. As soon as he finished speaking, there was movement of looking for someone outside the house. First, my mother's anxious voice. The queen is coming soon. Jinhe, as the protagonist of today's wedding, must not lose the courtesy. Find her quickly. Then there is Jiang Jinrong. Mother, my daughter has something I don't know if I should say. Just now, the maid saw Sister Jinha and a foreign man entering this inner courtyard garden, and they have disappeared now. Is it a private meeting in a small pavilion or side room? In my previous life, my wedding ceremony really alarmed the queen. The queen and my mother used to be sisters in the boudoir, and she came to my wedding ceremony, in fact, to give the king a slap. The palace intends to let the prime minister's mansion marry the crown prince. Jiang Jinrong was originally the chosen princess. Unfortunately, before the marriage was officially settled, she was revealed to be a fake daughter, and her biological mother was just a dancer in Huolo. Although she was not kicked out of the prime minister's mansion, she is now embarrassed about her identity. The royal family values pure blood the most. Jiang Jinrong put it bluntly, it was a child born of a slave woman, and after the queen learned about it, although it was not obvious on her face, she was somewhat responsive in her heart. She came today just to see what the real daughter of the prime minister's mansion looked like, what her conduct was, and whether she was worthy of the position of Princess Chen. Jiang Jinrong knew the queen's thoughts, so he drugged the layout, wanting the queen to see me, the real daughter, lying disheveled under the moon in the pavilion. In the previous life, the queen bumped into this scene, and was furious, and my parents hastily married me to prevent me from affecting the reputation of the entire prime minister's mansion. The more unbearable I am, the more Jiang Jinrong can erase the stigma of his fake daughter. The viciousness of his heart can be imagined. This time, she didn't find me in the pavilion with people, and immediately led people outside the nearest wing. Soon, they found that the door of my room was closed. Sister Jinha, are you inside? Jiang Jinrong did not push open the door directly, but asked politely first. Gu Jiuzhao looked embarrassed, he was now covered in traces of me, the bite marks on his neck were bright and dripping, and there was still flush at the base of his ears. Your Highness, don't worry. I whispered, I'll deal with them, the prince will leave through the small window. Don't worry, today's matter, my daughter will never reveal half a word. Gu Jiuzhao was slightly shocked, then what should you do? At the moment, this precarious bed, damp and messy bedding, even if there is no moon, others can guess what is happening here at a glance. I looked naive, if we were just drunk and made a mistake, I believe my sister would not embarrass me. I picked up the python robe that flew on the ground for Gu Jiuzhao, blinked my clear eyes, and said innocently and sincerely. My lord, my daughter never thought about blackmailing the prince with this. Gu Jiuzhao looked at me with a new look. Sister, if you don't agree, sister will push the door in. Jiang Jinrong's voice came aggressively. 5. Under Gu Jiuzhao's nose, I put on my robe in a panic, walked out of the screen and said. Sister, I'm a little drunk, take a nap here. Really? Jiang Jinrong's tone was a bit yin and yang, why is my sister's voice so hoarse? Does getting drunk hurt your throat? I pretended to cough twice, maybe I'm drunk and cold. So then sister, I want to come in and take a look. Saying that, the door was pushed open by Jiang Jinrong from the outside, and with her came her mother and several famous officials and noblewomen. It was also this group of people who came to catch the traitors in the previous life. I covered my chest in a panic, but they noticed the marks on my body at first glance. Coupled with the hot flashes that had not yet dissipated in this room, everyone's faces changed subtly. Those noblewomen tacitly knew it. My mother lowered her voice and angrily rebuked, Jinha, what have you done here? Mother, I didn't do anything. I said, there are no silver here, 300 taels of silver here, taking 2 steps back to protect the screen behind me. Jiang Jinrong's eyes stared aggressively at the screen and me. Sister, aren't you going to do something casual in this house with some wild men? Sister, I don't know what you're talking about. Jiang Jinrong has always been knowledgeable, gentle and considerate to the outside world, but at this moment, in order to press me to death, she actually showed a bit of anger that hated iron and steel. I said that you should be strictly supervised when you go home, your adoptive mother is a brothel mahor, you were brought up by her, and you were influenced by her. Are you the same as that group of prostitutes? You can't do without men for a moment. Sister, no matter how unbearable my adoptive mother is, she is also your biological mother, so you have to be virtuous. Jiang Jinrong was the most taboo for others to mention her true origin, and I stabbed her in public, and she changed her face in an instant. A prostitute, 2 sentences evaluated by my golden mouth, can be regarded as her glory after death. In my previous life, when I was framed in the pavilion, I was so frightened that I could only cry, and at that time, Jiang Jinrong comforted me with a kind face, so much so that I always thought she was a good sister. Now, I just said a few words to her, and she was provoked to the point where her true nature was exposed. You dare to cooperate with others at the wedding ceremony, no wonder your voice is hoarse. Jiang Jinrong was aggressive. Who is the adulterer? Sister, how can you slander my innocence without evidence? I was about to cry, and the last sound was soft. Jiang Jinrong thought I was crying with a guilty conscience, but in fact I cried to Gu Jiuzhao alone. My adoptive mother was the limelight Oiran when she was young. She taught me that to hold a man's heart, even crying is skillful. My sister insisted that I had an adulterer, and brought so many officials and noblewomen. Was she premeditated to catch the adulterer? I guarded the screen. I am inexplicably drunk and unconscious today. Is it my sister's arrangement? Jiang Jinrong was poked in the heart by me, and he was a little anxious. Whether you are innocent or not, just look at whether there is an adulterer on the screen. Get out of the way. She pushed me away with her hands, and I fell weakly, and the screen was taken down by me. With a bang, I saw a man sitting on the bed with his back to the bed. My sister gloated, but I breathed a sigh of relief. He really couldn't bear to let me face the mess alone. He can also be regarded as a responsible man. 6. Everyone was shocked. This Jiang Jinha is really having a private meeting with a man. You actually did this kind of thing at the wedding ceremony. It's really an insult to the lintel of the Prime Minister's mansion. My mother also shouted, Jinha, you really can't hold up the wall in the mud. Who is this adulterer? No, mother. I knelt on the ground and explained in a panic. Jiang Jinrong had already walked to the bed, and she was confident. Who is the adulterer? I will know with my own eyes. Turn around. She was almost commanding the man on the bed. The man remained unmoved. I knelt down to Jiang Jinrong's feet. Sister, this is all my fault. The big deal is that I hang myself with a white silk. Don't embarrass him. Get out of the way. Jiang Jinrong kicked me away. She thought that the man in front of her was the scholar Duan Yuan she had arranged. The scholar dared not listen to her orders. She felt a nameless fire in her heart, and pressed her palm on the man's shoulder. Her tone was even harsher. I told you to turn around. The man finally turned around, with a gloomy majesty and anger on his sharp eyebrows, and he stared at Jiang Jinrong coldly. The adulterer is the king. Are you satisfied, Jinrong? Jiang Jinrong's eyes widened in horror. Wang, your highness. I don't know who reacted first, and knelt on the ground. How could it be you, my lord? Jiang Jinrong was like the sky collapsing, trembling and stuttering in fright, and she looked at me suddenly. I raised my hand and touched my throat and silently provoked her. Wasn't my sister curious why I was hoarse? Of course, it's because my brother-in-law makes it. It hurts. 7. You bitch. It's you. Jiang Jinrong realized that she had fallen for the scheme. She was so angry that she cursed to pounce on me, but was pulled away by a pair of big hands. Gu Jiuzhao protected me behind him, and looked at Jiang Jinrong subtly. In his impression, Jiang Jinrong has always been gentle and considerate, virtuous and courteous. But just now, she pressed so mean step by step, and cursed with a hideous face, no different from a shrew. And the Jiang Jinrong he liked, they were like two people at all. Or perhaps, this is Jiang Jinrong's nature. He grew up in the palace and saw too many intrigues and smiling tigers and two-faced people. Could it be that Jiang Jinrong was one of them? Gu Jiuzhao's eyes were so cold that Jiang Jinrong, under his gaze, suddenly realized that he was gaff, and quickly knelt down and presented her most skillful innocent gesture. My lord, I am afraid that you will be drugged and framed, so I will lose my sense of proportion in a hurry. Jiang Jinrong said firmly. I have been in the same class as the prince for many years, and I know the prince best. The prince has always been self-restrained, and 1,000 cups are not poured. How can he be so drunk to the point of gaffe today? Someone must have drugged the wine. Plotting treason. Tears welled up in the corners of my eyes. Sister, are you trying to slander me for drugging His Highness the King? You're still pretending. Jiang Jinrong saw me huddled behind Gu Jiuzhao and was furious. Who else can you have? The only beneficiary of this matter is you, Jiang Jinhe. It's easy to prove, just ask a doctor to take the pulse. Just see if the prince is poisoned. Gu Jiuzhao also had this intention. For the sake of fairness, he sent his confidant directly to the front hall to invite Dr. Li at the banquet. This incident alarmed all the guests today. Dr. Li took Gu Jiuzhao's pulse and quickly came to a conclusion. The prince's body is imbalanced and fiery inside, which is a typical aphrodisiac that hurts the pulse, and it should be poisoned by strong lewdness. If this poison cannot be relieved in time, it will harm the source at best, and at worst, it will cause qi and blood to flow back and die. Who is so vicious that he dares to drug the prince? When the imperial physician said these medicinal properties, Jiang Jinrong's face did not change. From the moment she decided to drug me, she only wanted two outcomes: either I described dying in embarrassment, or being caught and raped in bed. But these tricks have now been passed on to her most beloved Mun. The room was already full of people, and the general, who had a good personal relationship with the Chen Wangfu, said, "Your prime minister's mansion is dead. Dare to use this method against His Highness the Emperor." Your Highness, calm your anger. Parents knelt on the ground. No matter who gave the medicine, the king almost had an accident in the prime minister's mansion. Father, mother, you don't have to accuse you. His Highness the King is benevolent and virtuous, and will never implicate innocent people. Jiang Jinrong, as a hostess, spoke for the king. The most important thing now is to find out the person who drugged it. She stared at me tightly. Jinhe, do you dare to let the imperial doctor also check your pulse? I held my wrist and asked vigilantly, Sister, what does this mean? If you are also poisoned, it is forgivable. If your pulse is normal and you are not poisoned, it means that you are always awake. A sober lady, when she encounters a delirious, what she should do is to invite a doctor for him, and find a prescription, instead of abducting him to bed. Sister, don't you just want to cling to the prince's mansion and become the princess? Jiang Jinrong raised his hand to straighten my collar, and exposed me contemptuously. Don't pretend to be forcibly broken, it's just intentional on your behalf. You just want to force His Highness to marry you on the day of the wedding, don't you? The cup of drugged wine harmed Gu Jiuzhao, and Jiang Jinrong expected that I didn't drink that glass of wine. Her eyes at me were already overflowing with clear killing intent, and even if the plan was exposed, she would press me to death in this game. 8. I held my wrist, took 2 steps back and denied I didn't. I didn't drug the prince, and I was also a victim. What are you hiding from without you? A joking voice came, and I followed the sound to see that it was my half-brother Jiang Haoyu. He walked to Jiang Jinrong and said to King Chen, Your Highness, this medicine is so vicious. If the two of them are Chinese medicine together, Jiang Jinhe is innocent. If Jiang Jinhe is always sober, only Your Highness will be confused. It's hard not to suspect that she drugged herself to seduce the prince. I stared at Jiang Haoyu. Obviously I was his own sister who looked like him. But at this moment, in order to favor Jiang Jinrong, he didn't leave room for me in his words. In the marriage customs of Qigua, if a woman has a brother, her brother should send her out of her parents' door when she gets married. In my previous life, I married a poor scholar. Jiang Haoyu only sent a servant around him to deal with me, and the servant also brought a message. The eldest son said that the girl is wandering. Although she is related by blood, the young master is ashamed to be with you, so that you can do it yourself after you get married. Later, when Jiang Jinrong got married, Jiang Haoyu not only escorted him all the way, but also cried red-eyed when he heard about it. The chilling is only a momentary thing, and I have long since given up on these so-called blood relatives. I can only rely on myself. As soon as Jiang Haoyu made a sound, Some people in the crowd of onlookers shouted loudly in support of Jiang Jinrong. The county lord of the Qi family sneered, knowing that King Chen and Jin Rong are in love. There is almost a marriage decree. This Jiang Jinhe wants to rob this good marriage, so he drugged the prince, thinking that raw rice and cooked rice will force the prince to marry her. The prince of the He family ridiculed, although blood is precious, but after living outside for 18 years, she is still raised by that kind of person. The little grandfather of the Zhang family said loudly, Jiang Jinhe, don't pretend, tell me honestly, do you want to rob Jinrong's marriage? So you drugged the prince, this is your wedding gift, it's really open-minded. These three people were born noble and were known as the four gentlemen of the imperial city, along with Jiang Jinrong. When I was first recognized back in the capital, these three people tricked me into going to the Jade Tower, saying that they wanted to treat me, and halfway through the meal, all the children of this group of aristocratic families found excuses to disperse, leaving me alone to settle the bill. I just knew that such a small table of meals cost 100 taels of silver in the imperial city. I had just been recognized back as the Prime Minister's mansion at that time, and I only had a few taels of silver with me, and I didn't know what to do. In the end, the shopkeeper detained me in the store, and it wasn't until dark that Jiang Haoyu came to the restaurant with a dark face and took me away. That day, I lost my face, and everyone in the imperial city spread that the real daughter of this prime minister's mansion had just recognized was a poor man who was rich, and as soon as he came back, he dared to go to the Jade Tower to order the most expensive dishes. When I returned home, Jiang Jinrong and her three friends were waiting for me at the gate of the house. Jiang Jinrong stepped forward and shook my hand and apologized with a smile. Jinhe, my friends are just joking with you, don't mind. She said so, but her friends, including Jiang Jinrong herself, looked at me with a mean look like a mouse crawling out of a gutter into the sun. That day, I almost drowned in embarrassment and low self-esteem. Jiang Jinrong has been the daughter of the Prime Minister for 18 years, and has already run a network of contacts with her as the core in the imperial city. Whether it is right or wrong, these children of noble families will unconditionally defend Jiang Jinrong. Just like now, they are so gossipy that I don't even have a chance to argue. The noblewomen and courtiers next to me also looked at me with subtle eyes, as if they were convinced that the truth of the facts was like this. Jiang Jinrong, who had the upper hand, softly persuaded. As a woman, I understand your thoughts. You have been raised outside since you were a child, and your adoptive mother is still a prostitute, so it is inevitable that you will learn some indiscriminate methods. I didn't. I shook my head in tears and took 2 steps back in a cringe. No? Jiang Jinrong approached me, then what are you guilty of? Let the imperial doctor look at your pulse, everything is clear. 9. I looked up at Gu Jiuzhao for help. Your Highness, believe me, I was also framed, I am an innocent. Gu Jiuzhao held my arm. Jinhe, let the imperial doctor see your pulse. If you are innocent, you will be able to convince the public. I was shaken uncontrollably by the arm he was holding. Jiang Jinrong's eyes flashed with pride, and he snatched my arm, and Dr. Li took over and took my pulse. I cringed and wanted to withdraw my arm. Jiang Jinrong's friends laughed. Look at her guilty conscience, it's the medicine she gave her, and she didn't run away. The women who grew up in brothels are the same, rushing to climb on men's beds, thinking that they can fly up the branches and become phoenixes, which is ridiculous. Prime Minister Jiang, with all due respect, Jin Rong's character is 100 times more noble than your own daughter. Shut up. The matter is not yet decided. Who allows you to talk like this? When you were a companion in the palace, didn't you learn half of your upbringing? Gu Jiuzhao scolded, and the group of arrogant children of the family shut up angrily. Only Jiang Haoyu was indignant. My lord, she has a guilty conscience like this, does she still need to test it? She clearly. Miss Jinhe's pulse. Without waiting for Jiang Haoyu to finish speaking, Dr. Li suddenly twisted his white beard and frowned. This pulse is. Jiang Jinrong couldn't wait to ask, what's the pulse? She didn't have Chinese medicine, did she lie? Dr. Li let go of his hand and concluded, this pulse is as restless and rapid as His Highness the King, and it is a disease of weak qi and blood after the aphrodisiac injury. Jiang Jinrong was shocked. What did you say? The noisy children of the family just now, along with Jiang Haoyu, who was in a hurry to convict me, were stunned in place. Dr. Li made a final decision. The two of them should have been poisoned by strong lewdness at the same time, and Miss Jinhe's symptoms are more serious than the prince. When you have an attack, you must be delirious, and your thoughts and actions are not controlled, and if you make a big mistake during this period, you are really innocent. Jiang Jinrong jumped like thunder. How is that possible? That's impossible. The imperial physician must have read it wrong. Dr. Li touched his beard and said, "The old man has been an errand boy in the Thai hospital for more than 40 years, but this is the first time that someone has questioned the old man's medical skills." Jiang Jinrong was embarrassed and she immediately pointed the finger at me. "If you are not greasy, what are you guilty of? The imperial doctor wants to take your pulse, what are you hiding from?" "I'm hiding because..." As I spoke, I lifted my sleeves and I saw that my arms were full of bruises and red marks after the love affair. I scanned the crowd and spoke innocently. "I am afraid that when the imperial physician takes the pulse, these traces will be exposed, which will damage the reputation of the prince, and it is not in line with the dignity of the noble daughter of the family." I glanced at Jiang Jinrong and her three friends, and their eyes were provocative. "Do you think so?" 10. These traces have bite marks and bruises, all of which are masterpieces under Gu Jiuzhao's gaffe. Gu Jiuzhao was quite ashamed. He raised his hand to protect me in his arms, lowered my sleeves, and untied his robe to cover me tightly. I was wrapped under his robe, and I sniffed the smell of Gu Jiuzhao's agar wood on it. The group of people who jumped the highest just now also panicked. She is really innocent. Who will be the one who drugged her? Is there an assassin at the banquet? I just seemed to see that Jinrong toasted the prince and the real daughter. Jiang Jinrong was already in a mess, and at this time Jiang Haoyu stood up and said, "Even if Jiang Jinhe is drugged, it may be that she entered the game for the glory of the Chenwang mansion, and the soldiers are in danger." I looked at Jiang Haoyu coldly as expected of my big brother. He guessed all my thoughts. I did take that medicine too, but after turning Gu Jiuzhao to bed. Jiang Jinrong gave me the most intense lewd poison. In my previous life, when I married a scholar, I accidentally fell from the sedan chair and injured my palm and bled. When the doctor who saw my injury bandaged it, he said that my blood smelled wrong, and asked me if I had drunk any strong love medicine for the bridal chamber. This medicine has a mixed name, called Mandarin duck, which was originally used by the people to breed livestock. When used on humans, the effect is too strong and poisonous. As long as it is taken, both men and women, regardless of status, can mate into a pair. Mandarin ducks are precisely poisonous, and if they remain in the human body, they cannot be completely excreted within 10 days and a half months. The barefoot doctor kindly reminded me, when the drug is attacked, the blood of the person who uses Chinese medicine is poisonous. Therefore, when Gu Jiuzhao had a Chinese medicine attack, I hugged his neck and bit him hard and saw blood. In order to avoid deliberately, he also bit the skin in other parts of his body. I sucked the blood from his body like drinking poison. At that time, I was like an evil spirit in hell, haunting a noble god and despicably sucking his blood to do the way of salvation. People who have died once are always unscrupulous in their survival. In the middle of this intercourse, my love poison also flared up. When Gu Jiuzhao was satisfied, the poison in my body was still boiling. Although it can be restrained, it is very easy to confuse the pulse, so that the imperial physician thinks that I and Gu Jiuzhao are Chinese medicine at the same time, and I am more affected. So I became the most perfect victim. 11. At this moment, in the face of Jiang Haoyu's accusations, I asked with tears. What my brother means is that in order to cling to the palace, I will not hesitate to abandon my innocence, regardless of my life, and give myself a heavy dose of lewd poison. Is there really anyone in the world who is so greedy and stupid? Or in your eyes, am I such an unbearable person? Jiang Haoyu was speechless by me. I asked my parents again, in your eyes, am I really such an unbearable evil person? Father, mother, I am the daughter who has the same blood as you. When Jiang Jinrong slandered me, wasn't he slandering everyone in the Jiang family? The Prime Minister of Shuefu Wucha lowered his eyes in shame when I asked him, and the graceful and luxurious mistress looked at me with guilt in an instant. No one in the room dared to talk much, and it was rare to be quiet. At this time, I walked up to Gu Jiuzhao. "Your Highness, do you remember what I said? You and I both drank Jiang Jinrong's wine." Jiang Jinrong's face suddenly turned pale. 12. "There is no problem with the wine I toast." She pretended to be calm. "Now the medicine does not have to be in wine, but it may also be in utensils." I told Gu Jiuzhao, "Your Highness, let someone bring the wine jug and cup she used to toast and find out." Jiang Jinrong was obviously panicked, and she asked Gu Jiuzhao expectantly, "Your Highness, do you doubt me? We have known each other for many years, don't you know what my conduct is?" Gu Jiuzhao said in a deep voice, "Jinrong, what kind of conduct are you? This king really wants to investigate one or two more." Jiang Jinrong's expression stiffened, and his shoulders collapsed. If Jiang Haoyu hadn't helped her, she would have fallen to the ground at this moment. Even if the trickiness on the cup is discovered, and she is not the only one who has touched the set of wine utensils at the wedding ceremony, she may not be able to nail all the charges on her head. She took a deep breath and calmed down. "I am clear, and I am not afraid of the prince tracking down." As soon as she finished speaking, a man dressed as a scholar appeared in the crowd. "I want to report. I want to report it." Everyone gave way to him, only to see the scholar dressed in plain clothes, holding a mun in his hand who was similar to his dress system. The mun had his hands tied, seemed to have been punched twice, pushed to his knees in front of everyone, and shouted, "Injustice! Zhang Xing slandered me." My pupils shrank sharply, and the mun who knelt down in front of me and cried out for grievances was Duan Yuan, the scholar I married in my previous life. In his previous life, he ambushed me in the rockery and took advantage of me, and then he insisted that I took the initiative to flatter and seduce. I was disgraced and forced to marry into the Duan family in Sanyang, and after marriage, Duan Yuan ate, drank, prostituted and gambled, and did everything possible to knock on my marrow and suck blood. He drove me to a dead end, and I smashed his head with a vase and sent him to see the king of hell. He died, and the dirty disease he brought me always tormented me. Although time flows against the clock at this moment, everything starts over. I also expected his arrival. But when I really saw this person, I still couldn't help but feel chills and phantom pains all over my body. Gu Jiuzhao noticed that my breath suddenly became rapid, thinking that I was frightened, and hugged me into his arms, which was a full protective posture. "Your Highness, sir. I want to report Duan Yuan for misdeeds." The escort was the scholar Zhang Wenxuan. The imperial examination was imminent, and the outer courtyard of the Prime Minister's mansion took in many scholars to study. These people are all seedlings favored by the Prime Minister's mansion, and as long as 2 or 3 of them successfully become officials, they will be the help of the Prime Minister's mansion in the court. These scholars come from all over the world, there are male and female defenses, and there is a distinction between high and low, so on occasions such as the daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion and the wedding ceremony, this group of scholars who are studying cannot be seated, and naturally they cannot break into the inner courtyard without authorization. Zhang Wenxuan followed Duan Yuan and revealed to King Qin. This morning, Duan Yuan came sneakily to the inner courtyard garden. The inner courtyard is the residence of the daughter and the young master. I was afraid that he would bump into the nobleman, so I followed him over, and sure enough, I saw him hiding in the rockery. Later, after Miss Jean has stumbled to the inner courtyard, Duan Yuan came out directly from the rockery, searched around, and wandered around the side rooms, pushing open the doors one by one, as if looking for someone. I had a chill down my spine if it weren't for Gu Jiuzhao. If I really had Chinese medicine, even if I hid in the side room, I would be eaten clean by Duan Yuan. 13. The front hall is the daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion and the wedding ceremony. The Prime Minister has the kindness of knowing the grass people. The grass people must not let Duan Yuan ruin the hair ceremony, so he took action to capture him, and when he resisted, I also found a medicine-quench scarf from him. Zhang Wenxuan handed over a thick scarf. Dr. Li took it and looked at it carefully, put it on his nose and sniffed it lightly and immediately took it away. This scarf is also quenched with lewdness. This scholar wants to plot against Miss Jinha. Everyone was shocked. I pretended to be frightened and shrank into Gu Jiuzhao's arms. Gu Jiuzhao was furious, raised his foot and kicked Duan Yuan to the ground, presumptuous. Who instructed you to do such a dirty thing in the Prime Minister's office? Duan Yuan saw that the matter was exposed and immediately looked at Jiang Jinrong. Jiang Jinrong looked panicked. You, what do you think I am doing? Duan Yuan's eyes rolled slipperily. In my previous life, I was husband and wife with him for 3 years, and I knew that he was stupid and bad. At this point, he will definitely confess that Jiang Jinrong is the mastermind behind the scenes in order to survive. I don't even need to induce a confession, I just need to wait for him to open his mouth. Duan Yuan did stare at Jiang Jinrong. Jiang Jinrong's face was pale, and she desperately threatened with her eyes. But a villain like Duan Yuan is the most difficult to control at the moment of life and death. He really ignored Jiang Jinrong's warning and chose to protect himself. Of course, the only one who dares to instruct me to do such a thing is Jiang. The queen is here. Before he finished speaking, he was suddenly interrupted by a loud shout from the eunuch outside. My fisted hand was weak to let go just a little. Jiang Jinrong's heart almost hung up to the throat, and then fell back suddenly. The queen has always liked Jiang Jinrong very much. Before Jiang Jinrong was exposed as a fake daughter, she was still the daughter of a noble lady who was carefully cultivated by the Prime Minister's mansion and had clean blood. The king needed the assistance of the Prime Minister's mansion, and the queen hinted more than once that Jiang Jinrong was the crown princess she was optimistic about. Jiang Jinrong touched a jasper silk bracelet on her right wrist, which was a treasure given to her by the queen before. Now, although she is a fake daughter, Jiang Jinha is suspected of seducing the prince. The queen saw too much infighting in the court, was suspicious and thoughtful, and regarded the king as precious as her eyeballs. She would never allow anyone to calculate the king in the matter of the bed. Jiang Jinrong showed the pride of the rest of his life after the disaster. The queen is her big backer. 14. The queen was placed outside the side room, and everyone knelt down and saluted. I knelt respectfully in Gu Jiuzhao's robe, and almost immediately noticed the queen's gaze shooting at me. Everything on the bed that he had no time to clean up in the future showed the absurdity just now. The queen's expression was cold. What happened here? Without waiting for Gu Jiuzhao to answer, Jiang Jinrong rushed to reply first. Mother, Jiang Jinha used the inferior number of brothels to seduce His Highness the King. Empress Zhang had only one prince, Gu Jiuzhao. In her early years, she was also pregnant with a child, and was miscarried by Li concubine Li. Li was originally a thin horse raised by officials of the previous dynasty, and the emperor visited privately in disguise, and he was drunk, and had a night with the flattering Li family. Li was named a concubine, and after entering the palace, she was arrogant and collided with the queen, and the little princess in the queen's womb for 5 months was not saved. Although concubine Li had long died in the cold palace, Empress Zhang hated concubine Li the most. Today was the first time the queen saw me, and Jiang Jinrong's words made me the second concubine, completely ruining my eyes here with the queen. Queen Zhang's eyes were really not good at me. Gu Jiuzhao wanted to explain for me. Empress Zhang no longer had the patience to listen anymore. Without matchmakers, without engagement, and private arrangements are unfaithful. She looked at me coldly. Give you white silk to cut off yourself, and this palace will fulfill your dignity after death. 15. Gu Jiuzhao was shocked. Mother, Jiang Jinha is also a victim. How do you know she's innocent? Can you see through a woman's mind? Don't be like your father, you are deceived and count money for her. I was calm on my face, but there was a thin layer of sweat on my back. My trick was indeed a trick in front of the queen. The queen was the highest-ranking person present, and no one dared to disobey her decision. My parents seemed to want to intercede for me, but in the end they didn't really dare to speak. Just like in the previous life, they would marry me off without hesitation for the sake of fame. When the 2 grandmothers came to escort me, I was bumping into Jiang Jinrong's gaze. She is like a successful fox, cunningly waiting for me to die. The grandmother in the palace was very strong, and as soon as she got started, she had to tear off the robe on my body. As soon as my robe falls, my embarrassment will make Empress Zhang feel disgusted. But as soon as the corner of the robe was torn apart, it was tightened again by another pair of big hands. I looked up, Gu Jiuzhao took me into his arms, and heard him say loudly, "If you say that you have lost your virginity, you have also lost the loyalty of a gentleman today. Since the Queen Mother wants to give death, it is better to give an extra piece of white silk and hang her son to death." 16. The Queen was shocked. "Emperor, you..." When Gu Jiuzhao defended me, I could even hear the vibration of his chest. Everyone present was shocked by the king's words and deeds. Killing without asking about the cause and effect, what is the difference between the Queen Mother and indiscriminately killing innocents? Gu Jiuzhao scanned everyone around him again, and you, the Queen is present, here to administer justice, one by one, are all dumb. As soon as he finished speaking, the guards who had just gone out to investigate came in and replied. Gu Jiuzhao invited the Queen to the throne. There is a reason for this. There are traitors to make a decision. Since the Queen Mother is here, it is better to listen to the evidence before making a decision. The Queen had no choice but to sit down. The guard replied with a drinking utensil. Returning to the Queen and the Prince, there are indeed traces of quenching on the wine utensils that Jiang Jinrong toasted today. After the examination of the imperial physician, this poison is the folk medicine with mandarin ducks, which was originally used by the folk to breed livestock. The reason why the Prince and Miss Jiang lost their temper today is that they are the culprit. Everyone's eyes were projected on Jiang Jinrong. Jiang Jinrong quickly retorted, "Someone must have framed me. I don't know how many people have passed through these wine utensils." "Your Highness, lady." The courtier's daughter was also framed. The Queen's anger was suppressed by Gu Jiuzhao, and now she came to her senses, and when she heard the imperial doctor say that the lewd poison almost killed Gu Jiuzhao, she became serious. "Jinrong, are you shouting to catch the thief?" 17. Mother. I didn't. Jiang Jinrong knelt on the ground at a loss, full of nonsense. Everyone looked at her like a harlequin on the stage. Her 3 family friends stopped talking at this time. I thought Jiang Jinrong would definitely die. At this time, Gu Jiuzhao sighed lowly. This matter is obvious. It was the scholar Duan Yuan who was angry with the daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion and sneaked into the inner courtyard to drug the wine. I suddenly raised my eyes from his arms, and Gu Jiuzhao couldn't help but order. "Drag Duan Yuan down, castrate him, and then take him to be strangled." When Duan Yuan heard this, he immediately cursed, "I'm just a businessman, and the mastermind is Jiang." Before he finished speaking, he was stabbed by the guards with sticks to his tongue and teeth, and he could no longer pronounce a clear word. I hurriedly said, "It's not that simple. The mastermind behind the scenes is Jiang Jinrong. Why did he push all the charges to Duan Yuan?" Gu Jiuzhao's hand on my shoulder suddenly tightened. This is a force to stop and warn. I was stunned and saw him staring at Jiang Jinrong on the ground, who was embarrassed and panicked. From today onwards, Jiang Jinrong has been grounded in thought. Without the king's order, he is not allowed to leave the attic for half a step. I understand. Gu Jiuzhao pushed all the charges to Duan Yuan, just to save Jiang Jinrong. For this reason, I did not hesitate to destroy all the evidence I carefully sent. Then I was suddenly dragged by him to kneel in front of the Queen. "Mother, Jiang Jinha accidentally relieved her son's lewdness. Since she is innocent, her son is willing to be responsible for her. My father originally intended to let the Chenwang mansion marry the Prime Minister's mansion, and Jiang Jinha is the real daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion, so the marriage contract will be fulfilled by her." The Queen was shocked. "Jiuzhao, what do you mean?" Gu Jiuzhao held my hand tightly and said loudly in front of everyone, "This king will have 3 books and 6 rights, and the Ming media is marrying the Prime Minister's daughter, Jiang Jinha, as the princess." 18. Gu Jiuzhao did this, which could not only preserve my reputation, but also cut off the Queen's murderous intention towards me. The king needs the civil servants of the prime minister's mansion. The queen knew that Jiang Jinrong was not innocent in this matter, and she was disgusted. In the end, he relented and agreed, asking Gu Jiuzhao to ask the emperor for a marriage decree. The farce of the wedding came to an end. After the queen drove back to the palace, I bumped into the conversation between Jiang Jinrong and Gu Jiuzhao in the pavilion. Jiang Jinrong cried with pear blossoms and rain. Is the prince gambling with Jinrong? Obviously, I am the one who is in love with the prince. How can you say that you want Jiang Jinha to be your princess today? Do you know who Jiang Jinha was raised by when he was wandering outside? Her methods are dirty, and you have all been deceived by her today. Jinrong, until now, you are still lying in front of this king. Gu Jiuzhao handed a white porcelain cup to Jiang Jinrong's eyes, and Jiang Jinrong's crying face froze. The rim and bottom of the cup have been quenched with poison. The imperial physician said that any liquid poured into it will immediately turn into a strong lewd drug. Poisoning alcohol is too easy to detect, so you choose to manipulate the cup. If the king guessed correctly, Duan Yuan was also arranged by you to enter the inner courtyard. You want to drug Jiang Jinha and arrange for Duan Yuan to ruin her innocence. You are the only daughter of the prime minister's mansion, and you are the only candidate for the princess, right? The evidence is conclusive. Gu Jiuzhao is a smart person, and he quickly saw through all of Jiang Jinrong's scheming. Your Highness. Jiang Jinrong's dark mind was cut open and placed in the sun, and she was stared at by Gu Jiuzhao's gaze all over her body. You made a red mark at the bottom of the wine cup, but the mark was too hidden, and you actually mixed up the cup and offered the poisoned wine to the king. That's why there is today's farce. Jinrong, you even want to borrow my mother's hand and kill Jiang Jinha. What a borrowed knife to kill, Jiang Jinrong. You are so bold that you dare to use the royal family to plot human life. No. No, my lord. Jiang Jinrong knelt down in fear. I really want to drug Jiang Jinha, and that's because she and Duan have a good relationship in private. I just want to fulfill them. Jiang Jinha also said that she wants to elope with Duan Yuan. I just fulfill them on the day of her and the wedding. Even if things are exposed, she still wants to pour dirty water on me. These words are half true, and even if others don't believe them, they will be suspicious. I didn't think about calculating the prince, how dare I? It's Jiang Jinha. She took advantage of the chaos to change the cup, so she harmed you, your highness. She grabbed Gu Jiuzhao's hem tightly. My lord, I have admired you for many years and dreamed of becoming your first wife. How can I be willing to hurt you? All this was caused by Jiang Jinha, and she was the one who framed the prince. 19. At this point, you still don't repent. With a bang, Gu Jiuzhao smashed the white porcelain cup in his hand to pieces. The guards have investigated clearly, and you are the only one who touched that set of drinking utensils from beginning to end. And Duan Yuan, he found a Zhang's silver note in his room, and the silver note was stained with the fragrance of Qilan on your body. You have used this incense since you were a child, and this king will never make a mistake. I didn't have anyone present this evidence directly to the Queen Mother, and I also had someone break Duan Yuan's tongue, otherwise, you should be the one who was killed by the Queen Mother today. Jiang Jinrong was so frightened that tears fell, and Gu Jiuzhao clamped Jiang Jinrong's face full of tears. Drugging the prince can kill the 9 clans. Jiang Jinrong, this king protects you once today, which can be regarded as repaying your infatuation over the years. From today onwards, I have no other affection for you. Don't want to be a princess, and don't target Jiang Jinha anymore. If you are targeting her now, you are targeting this king. Your Highness, are you here to kill my heart when you say such things? Gu Jiuzhao sneered. The warm wine between me and Jiang Jinha was handed over by you yourself, Jinha, all of this is your own choice. Gu Jiuzhao shook off Jiang Jinrong's face, stepped on a piece of porcelain, and brushed his sleeves. No matter how hysterical Jiang Jinrong cried, he never looked back. I borrowed the big tree to hide my figure, and didn't let Gu Jiuzhao find me. 20. In the evening, Duan Yuan was to be executed in the backyard of the Prime Minister's mansion. After all, this matter was disgraceful, and the Prime Minister asked Gu Jiuzhao for his consent and directly silenced him in the backyard of the Prime Minister's mansion. In charge of the execution were two strong guards with experienced methods, and I stepped forward to ask. This person wants to ruin my innocence, can the two eldest brothers relieve my anger? The guard is a person from the palace, and today the king said that he wanted to marry me, and in their eyes, I was the future princess. Of course, I'm just afraid of getting the girl's hands dirty. No. I took out the dagger I had prepared for a long time. I will only stab him twice, and I will never delay your business. The guards thoughtfully checked the hemp rope on Duan Yuan's limbs for me, and confirmed that they were tied very tightly before letting me get close to Duan Yuan. Duan Yuan's tongue and teeth were already crushed, but when his eyes saw me, they still glowed with lewdness. When he saw me holding a knife, he was not afraid. In my previous life, when he beat me in the room, I also picked up a knife to resist, but he was not afraid at all and even joked. Even if the little lady takes the knife, she will only cause some painless skin trauma. It will only make my husband more excited. Wrong. I clenched the dagger in both hands, and with the first knife, I castrated Duan Yuan's descendants. When the blood splattered, Duan Yuan let out an inhuman scream, and his whole body convulsed and convulsed. The two guards were startled. My face didn't change color. I raised my knife and gouged out Duan Yuan's presumptuous eyes again. The screams were endless, but I only felt happy. In my previous life, this man tarnished my innocence, humiliated my personality, and ruined my health. His eyes stared at me like a shadow, trapping me in Songyang County, trapping me in Duan's house for 3 years, 3 whole years. I have long wanted to cut off his evil roots and gouge out his eyes. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. The night wind blew on my face, and half of the hatred that had accumulated in my chest was released. I threw the dagger and asked the two guards to continue using their punishment, and told them that I could tell His Highness what happened just now. I want to eliminate Gu Jiuzhao's suspicion of me and Duan Yuan as long as I am ruthless enough. Jiang Jinrong's situation of killing the heart is actually very easy to break. The two guards were a little in awe of me, and neatly hoisted Duan Yuan to the gallows. I watched coldly as Duan Yuan was hanged alive. If it weren't for Gu Jiuzhao's soft-heartedness, Jiang Jinrong would have been sent to the gallows today. Drugging the prince, 10 lives are not enough to die. But the prince himself showed mercy. In the pavilion, King Chen seemed to break with Jiang Jinrong, and his eyes were clearly love and hate. In the previous life, Gu Jiuzhao and Jiang Jinrong were in love after marriage. Gu Jiuzhao is a sentient person, so I can use him. But his love will also hinder my revenge. I must find a way to make King Chen and the entire Jiang family completely dislike Jiang Jinrong. I want to completely expel the wild doves that occupy the nest and get back to where they should go. 21. 3 days later, the palace issued an imperial decree to grant marriage. The Chen Wangfu quickly gave the Prime Minister's house a betrothal gift. On the day of the appointment, I met Gu Jiuzhao, and he asked me to marry with peace of mind. There is a gold hairpin given by the emperor in the bride price, which is very exquisite. Can you help me put it on? As soon as Gu Jiuzhao picked up the gold hairpin, a maid suddenly rushed in a panic. Oh no! Miss Jean Rong hanged herself in the attic. Gu Jiuzhao's expression changed. He threw down the gold hairpin and rushed to Jiang Jinrong's Wufang pavilion. Dad, mother, and brother all rushed over. I picked up the gold hairpin on the plate. It was obviously a good day for me, but everyone cared about Jiang Jinrong. When I walked to Wufang pavilion, Jiang Jinrong was lying in Gu Jiuzhao's arms sobbing, beating Gu Jiuzhao's chest and saying that she didn't want to live anymore, had no face to live, and wanted to apologize with death. Aya fell aside, and there was not even a single strangulation mark on her neck. Fake death, not a real act. Such a clumsy drama made everyone feel distressed. The Prime Minister said, "Why can't you think about it like this?" The mistress said, "Jean Rong, you still have parents, we all treat you as our own daughters, and if you make mistakes, we are willing to accompany you to correct them." Jiang Haoyu also said, "Yes. Even if the sky falls, there is still a brother who will hold it for you. It turns out that the life of someone is like this. When I was ruined in my previous life, these blood relatives just wanted to throw me out quickly. They never said such coaxing words to me. Jiang Jinrong looked at Gu Jiuzhao with tears in his eyes, and Gu Jiuzhao said helplessly, "You don't have to be guilty of death, you don't have to be like this. If there is no prince, Jinrong is worse off than death." "My lord," Jinrong is a little out of breath. She snuggled weakly into Gu Jiuzhao's arms. Gu Jiuzhao did not push her away, only asked someone to invite the imperial doctor. Gu Jiuzhao looked at me as if he was giving alms to a poor weak man. But when he looked at Jiang Jinrong, he couldn't give up his love cruelly. 22. The imperial physician came to see it, and said that Jiang Jinrong was depressed. Gu Jiuzhao relented, so that she didn't have to be grounded in the attic, and could walk around the prime minister's mansion. My wedding with Gu Jiuzhao is scheduled for the 9th day of the next month, and the entire prime minister's mansion is preparing for the marriage. There were flowers and silk everywhere, and Jiang Jinrong looked at them and became more and more depressed. 3 days before the wedding, I was looking at the style of candy in the courtyard, and Jiang Haoyu suddenly walked towards me angrily. "Why did you send the candy to Wufang Pavilion?" deliberately making Jinrong uncomfortable. I explained innocently, "Brother, I just want her to taste the taste of candy too. The imperial doctor said that she is depressed. Then she will be stained with my joy, maybe the heart disease will get better sooner." "You dare to be yin and yang." My brother misunderstood my sister. I turned around and picked up a plate of candy on the table. "Brother will taste it for my sister, which flavor is better, so that I can entertain the distinguished guests on the wedding day." Jiang Haoyu raised his hand and knocked over the lacquer plate in my hand, and all kinds of candy on it rolled to the ground. "Who is rarely tainted by your bad luck?" He threw down the sentence and threw off his sleeves. Dyer stepped forward to pick up candy for me, and I asked her not to have to do it. "Go tell your parents that my brother had a fight with me today." Although Dyer didn't understand my intention to do this, she did it. At noon, the entire Xiangfu knew that Jiang Haoyu had a quarrel with me for Jiang Jinrong. In the evening, Jiang Jinrong came to see me elegantly. She looked like a sixisher and said weakly and kindly, "Jinha, big brother had a dispute with you today because of me, and I have already told him." I said lazily, "You are really brother and sister. I have been in this family for 18 years, and I am better than my own brother and sister." Jiang Jinrong smiled and shook my hand. "I was bad before, I wanted too much, and after I got sick, I already wanted to open a lot. My brother is waiting for you in Yuyan Pavilion, and he also wants to apologize to you in person. For the sake of brother and sister's relationship, you can't refute his face. I know you have some misunderstandings about me, but if you don't go, I'm afraid you will end up with a reputation for disrespecting your brother. You don't know, the royal family attaches great importance to reputation, and I can't marry now, but Jinha, don't lose face in the prime minister's mansion." I stared at her hesitantly, and Jiang Jinrong smiled and said, "This is in the prime minister's mansion, it is your home. Are you afraid that I will eat you?" "Okay, I'll go see my brother with you." I followed Jiang Jinrong to the Yuyan Pavilion in the inner courtyard. Yuyan Pavilion is hidden in the bamboo forest of the garden, and there are few people around except for bamboo. The attic door was open, and the door was a screen, and the light was dim. Jiang Jinrong led me up the steps, and as soon as I arrived at the door, I smelled a familiar fragrance. "Jinha, go in and see my brother." Jiang Jinrong urged me to enter the door, and she quietly retreated behind me. Just as she was about to push me from behind, I suddenly turned around and smiled grimly. "Jiang Jinrong, I saw this trick when I was in the brothel." "What?" "The trick of abducting a girl and sending a sheep into the tiger's mouth." Without waiting for Jiang Jinrong to react, I slashed her neck with a knife. Jiang Jinrong was stunned by my palm, and I helped her over her figure and pushed her into the Yuyan Pavilion. Jiang Jinrong woke up when she fell to the ground. She was weak, and when she raised her eyes, she saw Jiang Haoyu, whose face was flushed, staring at her intently, like a beast approaching its prey. 23. With mandarin ducks, has a faint fragrance, which ordinary people can't easily smell. But I'm different. In my past and present lives I've been dealing with this medicine. Therefore, when the looming fragrance wafted out of the Yuyan pavilion, I guessed Jiang Jinrong's intention to lure me over. I can't tolerate Jiang Jinrong, and Jiang Jinrong can't tolerate me. The wedding is approaching, and she wants to borrow Jiang Haoyu to let me be doomed at the ceremony. Then don't blame me for retaliating and fighting evil with evil. Sister, Jiang Haoyu has more than a brother and sister relationship with you, you can enjoy it. I said, closing the door from the outside. Jiang Jinrong desperately struggled to escape from Yuyan Pavilion, but was held back by Jiang Haoyu, who had lost his mind. I closed the door and it was unlocked. Jiang Haoyu was born in martial arts anyway, and his strength was enough to control Jiang Jinrong. I called the butterfly waiting outside the bamboo forest. Go to the Chenwang mansion to report, just say that Jiang Jinrong is missing, and I am afraid that he will seek death again, please come and take a look. Dyer nodded, the slave understands, the slave will also tell the Prime Minister and the mistress by the way. Good butterfly, go. I guarded outside the door for half an hour, and I also listened to Jiang Jinrong's call for half an hour. It wasn't until someone hurried over here that I hid in the bamboo forest. My parents and Gu Jiuzhao arrived almost at the same time, and I also came out of the bamboo forest, pretending to have just found this place. My lord, have you found your sister? As soon as I finished speaking, an ambiguous female voice suddenly came from the Yuyan pavilion. The mistress's expression immediately changed. She guessed something, and wanted to cover it up. Your Highness, Jin Rong should be resting in the Yuyan pavilion, why don't you leave the matter of the inner house to me? Her words were interrupted by Jiang Haoyu's low roar. The mistress and the Prime Minister changed their faces in an instant, and the two rushed up and pushed open the door, only to see that on the bed, their son was inseparable from his adopted daughter, and he didn't know what heaven and earth were. Ah! The Prime Minister let out an angry mourn. The mistress rushed forward to drag Jiang Haoyu away, but Jiang Haoyu was addicted to it. The mistress trembled with anger, Jiang Jinrong. How dare you seduce my son to do such a thing? Are you worthy of our nurturing grace? Jiang Jinrong got up in a panic and wanted to explain, but suddenly her face turned pale, because she saw Gu Jiuzhao was standing at the door, staring at this scene with cold eyes. Your Highness. No, Your Highness. Listen to my explanation. She struggled to push Jiang Haoyu away and struggled to get out of bed, but her legs went weak and she almost fell. Gu Jiuzhao looked blue, and the air pressure around his body was so low that he could wring out the water. He turned around indifferently and suddenly stopped as he walked out of the house. I followed out and said with concern, Your Highness, my sister must have made an unintentional mistake, or she made a mistake while drunk, Your Highness. Gu Jiuzhao suddenly covered his chest and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. This is a sign of urgency. At this time, he should be completely desperate for Jiang Jinrong. 24. When I sent Gu Jiuzhao back to the prince's mansion, and then back to the Prime Minister's mansion, it was already late. As soon as I entered the main hall, I saw Jiang Jinrong and Jiang Haoyu kneeling in front of the two big heads under the dim yellow light. It seems that it has been tried for a round, Jiang Haoyu's medicinal effect has also passed, and people have sobered up a lot, and they are constantly accusing. Father, mother, the child was drugged, it's not the child's fault. The Prime Minister and his wife were pale, and the doctor in the house stood aside. This matter has been scored twice, and the Prime Minister's office has long had experience, and has already asked people to check the pulse. Jiang Haoyu was drugged, but Jiang Jinrong did not. Who seduces and who makes mistakes, it is clear at a glance. As soon as I appeared, Jiang Jinrong immediately rushed towards me, it's you. Jiang Jinhe, you are so vicious. You are so vicious. You actually let me. She said, crying aggrievedly, completely forgetting that if I didn't fight back, then I would have to bear the serious crime of brother-sister incest today. I don't know what my sister is talking about. My brother was drugged and only you have that medicine, sister, and only Tup you have this kind of criminal record. Why are you shouting to catch a thief here? I flicked Jiang Jinrong's hand. If I'm not mistaken, my sister sees that she can't marry His Highness the King, and she's afraid of being rejected by the Prime Minister's house, so she has to fight for a daughter-in-law of the Prime Minister's mansion, right? Jiang Jinrong was so angry at my words that the top of his head was about to smoke. Jiang Haoyu jumped up from the ground and pushed me away. You bitch, as soon as you come back, our family will be smoky, and it is clear that you framed us. I was pushed by him and staggered, and after standing firm, I only looked at the Prime Minister and the mistress and said, Dad, Mother, you see it, brother is so nervous, Sister Jinrong. Anyway, the two are not related by blood, so why not fulfill them, and let Sister Jinrong be my sister-in-law? The Prime Minister's face was even more gloomy and terrifying. Jiang Haoyu is the only man in the Prime Minister's mansion, and he is still the legitimate son. In his marriage, the Prime Minister has long liked the daughter of the Marquis of Dingen, and no matter how bad it is, he must be the legitimate daughter of the Duke's mansion. The marriage of the children of the family has always been a game of interests. The Prime Minister has been up and down in the court for many years, and at this age, he is pointing to the marriage of his children to take another step up. Now he was ruined by an adopted daughter, and he was extremely heartbroken. Jiang Jinrong too was reminded by me and understood that marrying Jiang Haoyu was her only good way out. She originally wanted to squeeze out my position. No matter how bad she was, she would be a favored concubine of the palace. But when King Qin saw that scene with his own eyes today, he must have disliked her. When the wedding ceremony was made, she was disgraced, and no child with a head and face would be willing to marry her. Dad, Mother, it's come to this point, I am willing to marry Brother Haoyu. She cried and acted coquettishly. I didn't realize that the Prime Minister and his wife were already on the verge of collapsing in anger. 25. When Jiang Haoyu heard Jiang Jinrong say this, he was surprised and happy, and hurriedly expressed his position. Dad, Mother, why don't I marry Jinrong? Anyway, she is an adopted daughter, and she has been raised under her eyes since she was a child, you know the roots, and such a daughter-in-law can rest assured. Presumptuous, you are presumptuous. The Chancellor was furious. The mistress couldn't bear it any more, and suddenly got up from her seat, and slapped Jiang Jinrong's face with a loud slap. Jiang Jinrong was stunned. Since I was a child, my mother has never been willing to beat you, even if I learned that you were not my biological son that day, I never could bear to blame you. Jiang Jinrong, you were born to a prostitute, and you have enjoyed 18 years of glory and pampering in my Prime Minister's mansion, and my lord, and I have carefully trained you to be everyone's lady, planning your future, and seeing that you are even heavier than your own daughter. But how did you repay us? At the wedding ceremony, you calculated the crown prince, and joked about the 9 clans of the Jiang family. Now you are calculating your adoptive brother. You want to ruin my son's future and ruin my Jiang family's century-old operation. You harmful white-eyed wolf, I shouldn't have been soft-hearted in the first place, I should have kicked you out of the house. I looked at the scene of the mother and daughter breaking up coldly, and I only felt sarcastic. When they recognized me back, they were reluctant to drive Jiang Jinrong away. At the wedding ceremony, they couldn't bear to pursue Jiang Jinrong's big mistake. Now, Jiang Jinrong touched their precious son, and moved the foundation of the Jiang family, and his parents finally panicked. So, the board still has to be hit in a fatal position, otherwise none of them will empathize with your pain. As soon as he heard that his mother was going to drive Jiang Jinrong away, Jiang Haoyu immediately defended. If you want to drive Jinrong away, kick me out too. The Prime Minister was so angry that his chest rose and fell, raised his foot, and kicked Jiang Haoyu violently, and then vomited out a mouthful of blood and fell backwards. Another one is angry. 26. Jiang Mansion was in chaos, and in the early morning, the night wind was cold, and Jiang Haoyu and Jiang Jinrong knelt down in the yard. The room was lit like beans. I took the warm medicine juice and walked to the Prime Minister's bed. Dad, drink the medicine, the imperial doctor said that you are in a hurry, just like His Highness the Emperor's symptoms, you can get better after drinking the medicine. The Prime Minister too, who had always been strong, showed tiredness and old age on his face, and I carefully fed him medicine and wiped the juice from the corners of his mouth. This scene, the mistress saw it. The Prime Minister suddenly clenched my hand and wet his eyes. Here, it's Daddy's fault. Daddy shouldn't be partial to an outsider and snub such a good biological daughter of mine. The mistress also stepped forward to wipe her tears and said, "It's all because the parents are not good, the lard is blinded, and they actually take favor of such an inexperienced white-eyed wolf." They held my hand and sincerely repented, apologized, and begged for my forgiveness. It turns out that they also know that they treated me partially, neglected, and mean to me before. They didn't really repent, but they saw that Jiang Haoyu was about to be disabled, and Jiang Jinrong was so unbearable. All the hopes of the family can only be bet on me, the daughter of the princess-to-be. Dad, Mother, if you say this, you will break your daughter. The daughter understands the hardships and difficulties of her parents, and never dares to complain. I also learned to say these general words, which made the couple even more ashamed. The mistress shook her head and was confused. Even the king saw this matter. How should it end? The Prime Minister pinched his eyebrows and said, "No matter what, Jiang Jinrong can never stay in the Prime Minister's mansion anymore. It's better to listen to my daughter." I said at the right time, "My brother is tempted by Jiang Jinrong because the two grew up together and are too close, just take them apart." Here, tell me carefully. My daughter's humble opinion is that let His Highness the King transfer his brother to the border for 2 years, so that he can make meritorious contributions while thinking about it. Reasonable. That Jiang Jinrong. The Prime Minister seemed unwilling to let her take the surname Jiang anymore, so he changed his words. "What should I do with that adopted daughter? Sister Jinrong has been in the imperial city for many years, and she is also a little famous. If the Prime Minister's mansion directly expels her from the house, I am afraid that it will also cause criticism and impeachment." I smiled. "Why don't you just match her with a marriage and let her marry far away? In this way, our Prime Minister's office is benevolent and righteous." The Prime Minister looked at me with appreciation. Here is worthy of being my own daughter, planning strategically, with the style of my youth. The mistress said proudly, "The daughter I gave birth to you will not be bad." They instantly became as if they were making out with me. But at this time, where will I go to get married? I smiled and said, "Zhang Wenxuan, the scholar who reported Duan Yuan that day, although his family was poor, he was still upright and honest. That Wenxuan doesn't even have a of fame." The mistress subconsciously worried that Jiang Jinrong would not have a good life after getting married, but soon she was ruthless again. That's it, she was originally from a humble background, and she is considered to be high with Zhang Wenxuan, so why should I plan for her? This matter was agreed, and I served my parents to rest. Early the next morning, Jiang Haoyu and Jiang Jinrong were separated and grounded. Zhang Wenxuan got the good news of the marriage contract and came to thank me. The young lady really kept her promise. When I was reborn that day, time was tight, and I only had time to buy Zhang Wenxuan, who was wandering in the inner courtyard. I sent you to the rockery to attack Duan Yuan that day, and you did a good job of this. Too, I promised you that I would arrange a good marriage for you afterwards as a reward. Are you satisfied with the betrothed to Jiang Jinrong? Zhang Wenxuan bowed. I am so satisfied, although it is a fake daughter, but after all, it was carefully cultivated by the Prime Minister's mansion, and it is considered a high climb. Zhang Wenxuan has failed to pass the exam for many years, and he can enter the Prime Minister's mansion to study, all relying on his beard. He is a little smarter than Duan Yuan, but his family background and talent and conduct are just the second Duan Yuan. In my previous life, Jiang Jinrong deliberately picked a phoenix man to tarnish me. Now, I will return her as it is. 27. After arranging everything at home, I went to the Qinhuang mansion with the snacks I made. Gu Jiuzhao was really heartbroken, lying on the bed, closing his eyes to recuperate. When he saw me coming, he straightened up and quietly watched me put white fungus soup into a bowl. I fed him a bite and he asked me, "Didn't you put sugar?" I quickly took a sip. "I'm sorry, my lord, I forgot to put sugar again." He joked, "Don't you little girls like to eat sweets?" You can actually forget to put sugar. When I was a child, I followed my adoptive mother, and she didn't let me touch the sugar at home, saying that sugar was expensive and I didn't deserve it. I seemed to mention this past incident inadvertently, and inadvertently exposed my hands and wrists, and Gu Jiuzhao really saw an old scar on his arm. He grabbed my wrist and asked, at that time, I was confused, and I didn't realize that you had such an old scar on your body. Who hurt you? I hesitated. Your Highness, don't ask, I'm afraid it will dirty your ears. Say. He gave me a general command, and then I relented and said. That day my sister said in front of everyone that I was raised by a prostitute. She did not slander me. My adoptive mother, that is, Jiang Jinrong's biological mother, was indeed a maiku in a brothel. When she was pregnant with the guest child and couldn't find the child's father, she relied on her Oiran connections to find out that the Prime Minister's wife would go up the mountain that day. So she spent money to hire a group of people to pretend to be robbers and force the Prime Minister's wife, who was waiting to give birth, into the ruined temple. In the ruined temple, the two gave birth together. The adoptive mother lost the child. She found a good home for her child, and I could only follow her to beg for a living. I stroked the scar. When I was 8 years old, she was violently assaulted by a guest, and I rushed in to protect her, but my arm was scratched by a splashed vase fragment. This injury was very deep, and my adoptive mother scolded me afterwards, saying that my arms had become ugly, and I would not be able to dance a good dance in the future. Later, she thought I was timid and cowardly, so she asked me to dance on the street, and I still remember that when I was dancing clumsily on the street that day, I happened to meet the daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion going out to play, and the carriage was so gorgeous, with feather wind chimes hanging on it, and the aroma of orchids when passing by. I secretly glanced at the Prime Minister's daughter in the carriage. She was wearing a glass flower on her head, a gold gauze pink dress, and a fluffy rabbit playing with her hand, and I was stunned. My adoptive mother covered my eyes and warned me sternly, saying that she was a young lady, not something that people like me could snoop on, and she made me not even envy, because I would never deserve to live like that. But a few days later, she pointed to the majestic Prim Minister's mansion and said that if I danced well, I could go in and dance to the young lady just now and get some reward. Later, I realized that she just wanted her biological daughter, and wanted to force me to practice dancing so that I could take her into the Prime Minister's mansion to see her biological daughter. And the premise of entering the Prime Minister's mansion is that she wants me to cut my face. I stopped here and asked with a smile. My lord, haven't you seen me dance yet? I got up from the bed, stretched my hands gracefully, revealing my arms covered with old wounds, and spun and danced, but before I jumped twice, I was hugged by Gu Jiuzhao from behind. I'm sorry, Jinhe. He snuggled up on my shoulder and apologized in a muffled voice. You shouldn't let that group of people insult you with your past hurts that day. Jiang Jinrong stole your life. I shouldn't let her hurt you again. My throat choked and I said softly, I'm fine, look, I'm already exhausted. 28. In fact, my love for the prince is no less than Jiang Jinrong. I whispered. Does your highness know how I was recognized back as the Prime Minister's mansion? It was you who purged the corrupt official Shen family in the court, and the brothel of my adoptive mother was the den where the Shen family sold stolen goods. On that day, the officers and soldiers investigated the brothel, and the leader was my mother's brother, who was the minister of Dali Temple. My uncle found out that I looked very similar to my mother when I was a child, and became suspicious, and after checking all the way, he recognized me back to the Prime Minister's mansion. In my heart, I am very grateful to His Highness the King. Gu Jiuzhao only found out about this, and he looked at me in surprise. It turns out that we have a fate for a long time. I almost missed it. He held my cheek and kissed me gently, a kiss full of distress and guilt. When a man begins to feel sorry for you and feel guilty about you, it is not far from him falling in love with you. I didn't tell Gu Jiuzhao that the brothel was in chaos at that time, and my adoptive mother was afraid that I would show my face in front of the officers and soldiers, so she wanted to stop me. At that time, I just wanted to escape her control quickly, so when I was shackled in her arms, I pulled out the hairpin from her head and stabbed it into the back of her head. Then I ran away in a panic and crashed into the arms of the adult handling the case, and the adult was extremely shocked when he saw my appearance. Later I learned that the Dali Temple minister was my biological mother's brother. At the age of 17, I was carved out of a mold with my biological mother when I was young. The efficiency of Dali Temple Ching was extremely high, and soon I was confirmed to be the real daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion. A real daughter has many things. For example, the marriage contract with the Chenwang mansion was born in me. I hugged Gu Jiuzhao tightly, not only holding the man I had admired for a long time, but also holding my bright future. I'm just trying to take everything that belongs to me. 29. After that day, Gu Jiuzhao never asked Jiang Jinrong again. 2 days before the wedding, Jiang Haoyu was temporarily transferred to the eastern border by the Chenwang mansion and ordered to set off immediately. The military order was difficult to disobey, and Jiang Haoyu reluctantly joined the army under the watchful eyes of his parents before dawn. The day before the wedding, Jiang Jinrong learned that he had been arranged to get married. The maid deliberately only said half of the words, and Jiang Jinrong mistakenly thought that he was going to marry Jiang Haoyu. When I walked into the attic, she was excitedly trying on the wedding dress and tiara that had been sent. These wedding dresses and jewelry are too perfunctory. Jiang Haoyu is the only son of the Prime Minister, thinking that I am the mistress of the Jiang family. Even if time is tight, how dare you neglect me so much? She scolded the maid who came to deliver things, but turned around and saw me. The maid had already been removed by me. There were only 2 of us in the house, facing each other in the light of the setting sun. When Jiang Jinrong saw that it was me, he put down his jewelry. Jiang Jinha, do you dare to come? I smiled and asked, why don't I dare? I'm not the one who did the wrong thing, you were the one who drugged Jiang Haoyu, right? The corners of Jiang Jinrong's eyes jumped and his eyes became vicious. I debunked her conspiracy that day. Deliberately let him provoke me, and then lure me over in the name of apology. Jiang Haoyu lost his mind after being drugged, and he was very strong. As long as I entered that room, you would lock the door from the outside. Then wait until the time is right, and then alarm my parents and the king, so that I will become a sinner who committed incest with my brother. Not only will my parents abandon me, but the marriage of the Chenwang mansion will also be ruined. Sister, what a vicious mind. I looked at her all over her body playfully. Do you know why I can easily see through your plan? Because of such tricks, I have seen them countless times in the flower building since I can remember. You grew up in the Prime Minister's mansion, but you can learn from such despicable methods without a teacher. As expected of a prostitute's daughter, she has the same despicable blood flowing in her body. You dare to humiliate me. Jiang Jinrong was enraged by me and raised his slap to hit me. I cut her wrist and slapped her with my backhand. Jiang Jinrong, remember, everything I have done to you is just to treat others in their own way. Jiang Jinrong was slapped by me and tilted her face. Her eyes were red with humiliation, and she gritted her teeth and said, so what if you are proud? In the future in this family, you have to call me sister-in-law and respect me as an elder. I looked at the person in front of me like a fool, and suddenly covered my lips and laughed. What are you laughing at? Jiang Jinrong was disturbed by my laughter. I patted her on the shoulder meaningfully and said nothing. 30. The wedding day chosen by the national teacher for the king is an impeccable auspicious day. Jiang Jinrong's marriage also rubbed against this auspicious day. When she got married, neither the Prime Minister nor the mistress showed up, only 2 maids perfunctorily put on her makeup. Until he got into the sedan chair, Jiang Jinrong finally couldn't help but look around and search, where is Jiang Haoyu? Today I married him, why has he never shown up? A groom officer suddenly broke into her field of vision. Madam, are you looking for me? Zhang Wenxuan, why are you here? Jiang Jinrong recognized the scholar who complained. My lady is joking, if it's not me, who else could it be? Zhang Wenxuan took Jiang Jinrong's hand with a smile, put it next to his nose and sniffed it. Madam, you are so fragrant. Presumptuous. Jiang Jinrong withdrew his hand and slapped Zhang Wenxuan angrily. Today is my wedding, aren't you afraid that Jiang Haoyu will expel you from the Prime Minister's mansion? You said eldest son. He had already joined the army, set off the day before yesterday, and is already at the border. Jiang Jinrong couldn't believe it. You are talking nonsense. If he is not here, who will I marry? Zhang Wenxuan was stunned for a moment and rubbed his hands. Don't you know yet, my lady? The person you want to marry today is me. The Prime Minister has already betrothed you to me. Tonight is our bridal chamber candle night. Jiang Jinrong's eyes widened. She couldn't believe it. Impossible, my parents can't give up on me like this, and Jiang Haoyu doesn't dare to betray me like this. My wife has long been ruined. No one in the Prime Minister's mansion is willing to protect you anymore. Your only destination now is to be my Zhang Wenxuan's wife. No, no. I want to see the Prime Minister. I want to see the mistress. Jiang Jinrong wanted to escape to the front hall, but was blocked by the send-off team. The head of the grandmother said, "The front hall is the wedding of the king and the princess. You are an outsider. Don't think about smashing the scene of the Prime Minister's mansion." Outsider? I am the daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion. Grandma sneered. There is only one real daughter in the Prime Minister's mansion, and that is Jiang Jinha. You are just a fake that has been dropped from the bag. The Prime Minister can no longer tolerate you. You are no different from outsiders. Those who know the face, leave the Prime Minister's mansion in a sedan chair, otherwise, don't blame us for driving you away, so that you lose face, girl. Jiang Jinrong realized in hindsight that he had been completely abandoned by the Prime Minister and his wife. She guessed that she had caused a big disaster by moving Jiang Haoyu this time, but she had also made a big mistake before, and her parents would come to coax her when she was cold at most. Why was it different this time? Why was it different? The old lady said, "After occupying the position of a daughter for so long, have you forgotten that you are just a wild dove occupying the nest? Put her in a sedan chair for me, don't miss the auspicious time." The servant dragged Jiang Jinrong half bundle and half mopping the floor onto the sedan chair. She struggled to resist, messed up the phoenix crown on her head, heard the lively silk and bamboo music in the front hall, and shouted hysterically. "This is impossible. I am the daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion. I am the sweetheart of the king. I can marry the Prime Minister's legitimate son at worst. You dare to do this to me? Dad. Mother. My daughter is so aggrieved. How can you be so cruel? How can you be so cruel?" The old lady said impatiently, "Shut her mouth." Zhang Wenxuan personally took a scarf, pinched Jiang Jinrong's chin, and blocked her mouth. He said with a smile, "Don't fantasize about the princess of the Prime Minister's mansion, it's all someone else's." He patted Jiang Jinrong's cheek. You are the best match for me." In the end, Jiang Jinrong was tied up and stuffed into a cramped sedan chair. Only a dozen people of the funeral procession blew and beat, passing by the gate of the Prime Minister's mansion. Jiang Jinrong desperately poked his head out, only to see the main gate of the Prime Minister's mansion lit up. The guests were like clouds, and the laughter was full. Under the coaxing of everyone, King Chen was carefully picking up the daughter of the Xiangfu full of gold and jade, and he was reluctant to let the princess go every step of the way, so he directly hugged the 6-car canopy wedding car. 10 miles of red makeup, the city is fragrant and festive. Jiang Jinrong was so jealous that she cried. This was the wedding she had dreamed of. But now, she can only sit in a cramped, rudimentary sedan chair and marry a poor scholar with no hope. She was by no means reconciled. She swooped down and rolled out of the sedan chair, wanting to attract the attention of the king, but her forehead landed on the ground and her head fell to the ground. King Chen never looked at her. 31. In the first year of marrying into the Qinhuang mansion, I successfully gave birth to the little prince. At the full moon banquet of the prince, Jiang Jinrong's 3 former friends brought generous gifts to congratulate him. In the past, the county lord mocked me and praised me for taking good care of me. The little grandfather who humiliated me begged me to say a few kind words for him in front of the king. The little marquis who embarrassed me in the Yulo that day apologized to me privately. I sat with them. I was in the main seat, and the 3 of them sat in the second seat, laughing at each other, not daring to let the scene be cold. I asked casually, "Do you have any news about Jiang Jinrong recently?" The county lord pretended to be stupid, Jiang Jinrong. I have forgotten that there is such a person. The little master smiled and said, if you want me to say, a fake is a fake, a fake is a fake, the world will only remember the real pearl, how can you remember a fake fish? The little marquis said with a guilty conscience, she instigated us to do a lot of ridiculous things back then, but Princess Chen must not take it to heart. I took a sip of tea and said lazily, I thought you old friends would think of her. Who is best friends with her? Princess, don't joke with us, ha ha ha. I sat in the main seat, and watched these three people who had bullied me laugh uneasily for more than half an hour, but it was much more interesting than watching a play. 32. The following year, Gu Jiuzhao was crowned crown prince, and I became the hostess of the Eastern Palace. This is completely consistent with the trajectory of the previous life. After becoming the crown princess, my parents treated me even more affectionately. The prime minister has to go to the prince every morning to care about me or two. The mistress often stewed and tonic soup for me, and asked me to take good care of my body after giving birth, and I would have many children. Jiang Haoyu returned from the border. After 2 years of training on the cruel border, my brother has become much more mature and stable, and he has also made a lot of military merit in the army, and was awarded the title of third-rank Hussar General. After becoming famous, Jiang Haoyu came to the East Palace to meet me and apologize for the harm he had done to me 2 years ago. I said generously, we are blood relatives, I will not take these past events to heart, and my brother must also look forward and make greater military achievements as soon as possible. Jiang Haoyu was very ashamed, and he took the initiative to tell me, on my way back to Triumph, I passed by Songyang County and met Jiang Jinrong. Oh? She begged me to take her back to Beijing, but I didn't agree, she looked embarrassed and didn't have a good time. My brother feels sorry for her, why don't you bring her back? The princess is joking, although she is reluctant to take the surname Jiang, she is no longer a member of the Jiang family, not to mention that she has married someone else's wife. Besides, on that day, I did such a ridiculous thing, and she gave me the medicine, and I was already sober. Then why did my brother tell me this? Princess. Sister, can you find a girl who is the right person for me to marry? Once people taste power, they will no longer be entangled by love. Jiang Haoyu has a good future now, so naturally he has also moved his mind to take his marriage to the next level. Unfortunately, he was absurd in his early years, and did not have a good reputation in the circle of celebrities in the imperial city. The Prime Minister's mansion took more than a year to plan for Jiang Haoyu to find a match for the legitimate daughter of a third-rank civil servant. When marrying a wife, the Prime Minister's house was naturally full of sincerity, and lowered his posture before asking Jiang Haoyu to get a good wife. 33. In the winter of the third year, at the gate of the East Palace, a woman was outside the gate of the mansion asking to see the prince. At that time, Gu Jiuzhao was asking the Dali Temple to thoroughly investigate Chen Yan's unjust case, thinking that some sufferer had begged for the prince's mansion outside, so he took me out to meet him. But I saw the woman hunched over, her exposed skin was full of red spots, and there was a scar on her forehead. Gu Jiuzhao didn't even recognize anyone at first glance, until the woman called out to him with bright eyes, Your Highness, it's me. I'm Jin Rong. Gu Jiuzhao seemed to have eaten a fly, he was sure that it was not the suffering lord who came to ask for help, so he took my hand and said softly. You had just clamored for daddy to hug her, so I'll go coax the child first. Go, I'll take care of this. After 3 years of husband and wife, Gu Jiuzhao already knows my heart very well. He didn't ask much, just gathered the fox fur cloak on my body for me. Don't catch a cold and don't worry too much about this kind of person. I shook his hand back, I understand. Gu Jiuzhao and I were tired of crookedness for a while, then ignored Jiang Jinrong, and went straight back to the house. Your Highness. I am Jin Rong, I am Jin Rong. Stop screaming, Jiang Jinrong, you turn to ashes and I recognize you too. Jiang Jinrong glared at me, and the hatred and resentment in his eyes were even more overwhelming than the heavy snow in winter. But she softened her posture. Sister, please give me a thing or two, my life really can't go on. Immediately afterwards, she began to complain to me about how Zhang Wenxuan ate, drank, prostituted and gambled, and how he cramped and sucked blood from her. I really have no choice. I stopped my brother's team. He turned a blind eye to me. I begged to go to the Prime Minister's mansion again. The Prime Minister's mansion closed the door to me. I can only come to the East Palace to beg you, sister. Sister, it was my sister's fault before. Please save my sister and reward me with something, as long as I can gain a foothold in the imperial city. I walked up to her and casually pulled out a gold hairpin from her bun. Is this hairpin enough? Jiang Jinrong nodded flatteringly while reaching out to take the gold hairpin, but the moment she touched the gold hairpin, she suddenly turned the head and tail of the gold hairpin, wanting to stab the sharpest end into my heart. But before the gold hairpin hurt me in the slightest, Jiang Jinrong was kicked to the ground by the guards of the Eastern Palace. She has been tortured in the past few years, and after being kicked down, it is very difficult to get up. I got up and looked down at her. Sister, these years have been very unsatisfactory, haven't they? Jiang Jinrong held the gold hairpin and raised his head and cursed me. This is not right at all. It's not like this in a dream. In a dream, it's me who is the crown princess, and it's you Jiang Jinha who has become an abandoned woman. It's you. It was you who robbed me of my luck, and all this glory and wealth was originally mine. The daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion is mine. The princess is mine, and the prince is also mine. Looking at her words and deeds, I guessed that she already had memories of her past life. 34. When did you remember? Jiang Jinrong touched the scar on his forehead and met my gaze. 3 years ago, on the day I got married, I broke my forehead, and I remembered it. Okay. I smiled and said, I'm afraid you won't remember. In the past 3 years, you must have been thinking, everything I have should be yours. Why did I rob you of everything? You must be in pain, you can't sleep every night, and you can vomit blood just thinking about it during the day. Although people live, they suffer endlessly, don't they? Jiang Jinrong looked at me in horror, and I almost hit the nail on the head of her state of mind. As for why I am so clear. Because I have also experienced it myself, obviously a real daughter, but I have lived a humble life for 18 years. I want Jiang Jinrong to know what she once had, and then take everything she has back. Only in this way is the top punishment of the heart. Does my sister have the courage to kill her husband and escape like I did in my previous life? Seeing Jiang Jinrong's panicked expression, I knew she didn't dare. In other words, Zhang Wenxuan is still alive. That's fine, I will send someone to send my sister back to Zhang Wenxuan. After all, your marriage was still matched by my golden words. Jiang Jinrong looked up suddenly. Is it you? You pushed me into such a fire pit. 35. She thought of something, shrank back and begged, no, don't send me back to Zhang Wenxuan. I am worse off than dead, I am worse off than death. She suddenly grabbed the gold hairpin in her hand, and the gold hairpin was engraved with a lifelike rich peony. She stared at the peony, and laughed. She dreamed of wearing such a crown princess-style gold hairpin. Her eyes changed, and she suddenly held the gold hairpin, and stabbed it into her heart. The guards didn't know why. I could see clearly that Jiang Jinrong remembered the husband and wife relationship with Gu Jiuzhao in his previous life, and thought that Gu Jiuzhao must also have lingering feelings for her in this life, and would never care about her life or death. The moment she stabbed, her heart was not deep, but a little blood flowed out, and she fell into the snow pitifully, murmuring, Your Highness, Jinrong hurts so much, Your Highness. I removed the guards so that everyone would not have to worry about her. 36. When I returned to the orchid room, Gu Jiuzhao was lifting the 3-year-old Yue high around his neck and letting him ride a big horse. Yue grabbed her father's ear with her little hand and giggled loudly. Seeing that I was coming, the father and son laughed and stopped frolicking. I told him, Jiang Jinrong stabbed himself, fell in the snow and called your name, waiting for you to save him. Gu Jiuzhao said, What do you tell me about this? Come and see, I taught Yue to write step by step today. What word? I was guided by the father and son to the desk, and I saw a crooked and immature word, he on the rice paper in the center of the desk. It's the name of yours mother. Mother, mother. Ewer clapped her hands and asked me to hug her. I quickly picked him up, kissed him again, and kissed again. Ewer is so powerful. Gu Jiuzhao competed for favor on the side. What about me? Is Ewer's father powerful? Amazing, amazing. I also rewarded Gu Jiuzhao perfunctorily, but he was fine, and hugged me, and refused to let go. The laughter of a family of 3 came from the study. In the early morning of the next day, a woman froze to death at the gate of the East Palace, and was hastily collected by the guards. When I was 10 years old, my adoptive mother once told me that if I didn't study hard to please guests, I would freeze to death in the snow. She asked me not to compare with Miss Jianjin, and the days to come will be full of gold and jade, Qin and Se. Everything is right. The daughter is me, and the crown princess is me. The hall full of gold and jade is mine, and the Qin and Se and the sound are also mine. The only one who froze to death on a snowy day was her own daughter, the fake daughter of the dove occupying the magpie's nest. In this life, the wrong life is in its place. The pearl shines again, and the phoenix bird returns to its nest. End of full text.